people who criticize Jews and their acts of ethnic nepotism are usually labeled anti-Semitic. That's a misnomer for a couple of reasons. First of all, Jews aren't the only Semitic people. Arabs are Semitic too. Ethiopians, I believe, are Semitic. So it doesn't apply to all Semites. So it's not a very good term. And also it's more like I've heard it described that anti-Semitism doesn't really, or anti-Semite doesn't really refer to somebody who hates the Jews, but somebody that the Jews don't like. Because they label you anti-Semite when you criticize Jewish nepotistic practices, such as Zionism. So I'm going to propose a new term, Critic of Jewish Nepotism. It's not very memey, but maybe it's more descriptive of somebody like me who think it's very relevant in today's society, especially to criticize not only Zionists, but in general Jews that engage in nepotism. But first I want to comment on yesterday's stream hosted by Baked Alaska between Laura-Loomer and Mr. Metokur, and it was pretty awesome, I should say. I watched most of it, almost all of it, until Laura-Loomer left and stuff, even though it only says 3 minutes. I just put this here to show his pretty face, whatever. So yeah, first of all, it started off really well with Jim exposing Laura-Loomer's pill pull and Jewish underhanded tactics, and even Andy Raceworski went into full race war mode and started calling Laura-Loomer out on her bullshit. That was great. I like to see these very normal liberal guys getting quote unquote red pilled on the Jewish question. And the best part was when Mr. Metokur, or Billy the Anti-Bully, he brought up the Jewish question and what do they think about it. And even these Jews that are in the media, such as Laura-Loomer, she agreed that Jews have a lot of influence in the media, and the Rebel Media is a Jewish organization, so it's not much of an alternative. So yeah, I'd really like to see Andy Worski host a stream on the Jewish question, and I would volunteer to be on it, but I doubt they ever see my video or know who I am, so I guess I won't be there, but it would be nice to be there. But at least I hope they would do a stream on the Jewish question, because I think it would inform a lot of people about these Jewish practices and make people understand that it's not just some neo-Nazi meme or something, criticizing Jews. And there are a lot of people making memes, gas the kikes and all that stuff, and I think it's a bit childish, but I'm not really against it or anything, but I prefer to use actual arguments to point out the Jewish influence in various aspects of modern society, not just the media, like how Israel has a lot of influence over the US foreign policy. It's interesting how Israel has that privileged position. Why not Finland, for example? Because, we're also a small country, and we're, next to Russia. Russia was the main enemy of the United States during the Cold War, and at least according to Democrats, it seems to be the main enemy again. So, hey, why not, we need their help. Why don't they give all of that, military budget and whatever they give to Israel? Why not? And we also have a blue and white flag, so why not, why not make Finns into this, favored position? But yeah, one point I want to make is that you don't have to be a national socialist or alt-right or white nationalist to be aware of the Jewish question and to talk about it and to be a critic of Jewish nepotism. I'm not particularly against somebody being national socialist or white nationalist, but I'm not like Mr. Metokur, who I sort of presume that he is not simply bringing up the Jewish question because he thinks it's funny. I think he thinks it's also relevant. And he's not alt-right white nationalist or anything like that, because it sometimes pisses me off because nowadays people tend to equate, I'm talking about Sargon of Akkad and people like him, that, if you criticize Jews, then you must be alt-right, but criticism of Judaism has existed for centuries or millennia, so it's much older than the alt-right. But yeah, it was particularly intriguing seeing Jews go against each other on the stream, Laura-Loomer and Mike Enoch, although I guess I shouldn't say necessarily that Mike Enoch is a Jew. I suspect it. There are some quotes about him that sort of suggest it. Mike Enoch is certainly more competent and seems smarter than Laura-Loomer, whose bullshit is easy to see through. But still, I wouldn't trust Mike Enoch either. I certainly wouldn't advise anybody to give him or the Daily Show any of their Patreon shekels or whatever, because it was interesting to hear Laura-Loomer bring up the fact that Mike Enoch's wife, or ex-wife now allegedly, is Jewish. And there is this common story on the internet that he married he married his wife before he was red-pilled on the Jewish question, but his wife is, I think she's B'nai B'rith, which is some Jewish secret society or whatever they do, and she's like a fag hag and a bio queen. It's a new word I learned recently. It's like some woman who pretends to be a female impersonator or something, and it's not, according to my understanding, it's not just something that she did 10 years ago or 5 years ago when Mike Enoch was still a libertarian or something. I think she did it at least back in 2016 when the Daily Show was already a thing. And also the thing about, how Mike Enoch says that, he's divorced from his ex-wife, or at least getting divorced, and he is not legally allowed to mention it. I question that claim. Maybe it's true, but it just sounds like a convenient excuse so Mike doesn't have to defend himself and explain all of the details about his wife and how it would if he were to address that issue, then somebody like Jim, for example, could ask him some acts. I feel very Ebonic now. He could ask him very uncomfortable questions and maybe poke holes into his narrative. Because, okay, let's say that they are, they very well could be divorced now or getting divorced, Mike Enoch and his wife. But his wife didn't seem to have any problem with Mike Enoch doing the Daily Show just a couple of years ago when he used to joke about the Holocaust and gassing Jews and whatever he did on his stream or still does. Only after Mike Enoch got doxxed and it was, all of this stuff was revealed, then she seems to have developed a problem with it. So, if they are indeed divorced, I think it's probably due to the wife feeling very uncomfortable with this new attention on her life, and she doesn't, want the complications in her life. I don't think it's so much about this. I don't think the wife's qualms about the situation are so much about, knowing that her husband is a quote-unquote Nazi who jokes about gassing kikes and stuff, because, she was fine with it. She even did some Christmas song on the Daily Show once, so she clearly knew all about it. So she was basically in on the whole thing, and many of the Daily Show or the Right Stuff, the staff knew about Mike Enoch and his wife, who was quarter Jewish or 1/8 Jewish or half Jewish or how much Jewish. So yeah, I just would advise against trusting people like him, like especially if you know that they have had let's say serious connections to Jews, and I don't mean like, you know, they dated a Jew in high school or something like 10 or 20 years ago. I suppose that's understandable for Americans, not for Finns. We don't have so many Jews here. Anyway, so I think alt-right, like I mean, most of these public figures in the alt-right, like Richard Spencer, Mike Enoch, are controlled opposition. Like, you know, Vladimir Lenin said, the best way to control opposition is to lead it ourselves. This is what I see with Mike Enoch, and even if he is genuine about everything he says, I still wouldn't trust him. Like, you cannot trust him. Like, if you understand the Jewish question, how Jews behave, how duplicitous Jews are, then you wouldn't trust somebody. He's been compromised. If he is genuine and he is not part of any willing participant in being a controlled opposition pawn, then yeah, okay, it's good for him, but still, he should at least be pushed to the sidelines. Like, there is no reason to trust Mike Enoch at this point. And yeah, I don't know about Baked Alaska. I think this is like the first video of him I've seen. I've heard about him, but don't know much about him, but seemed alright in this video. And yeah, another thing Laura Loomer brought up, it was interesting that she said that Mike Enoch's mom is friends with or knows Hillary Clinton, and of course, yeah, there's nothing suspicious about the fact that, you know, Mike Enoch's mom is a Hillary Clinton supporter or a Democrat or a liberal. Like, okay, if my mom was American, she might be a Democrat too, but I don't think she would really be a Hillary Clinton supporter. But I suppose, like, I think Mike did sort of say a couple of times that his mom is friends with Hillary Clinton, and he was sort of like either unsure or unwilling to say how well connected she is to the Democratic Party. I don't know, it's sort of like a small red flag, like maybe something to dig deeper into. And yeah, another thing Laura Loomer brought up is that she suggested that the alt-right is controlled by the Democratic Party. Well, the KKK was originally founded by the Democratic Party, so yeah, maybe it's just a new version of the KKK, meaning it's, I suppose, controlled opposition or whatever, because I'm not saying that the alt-right is definitely funded or controlled by the Democratic Party, but it is an interesting suggestion, and it is interesting to see these Jews fight amongst each other, and I sort of wonder to what extent it's like it might be some sort of play to promote the alt-right. Like, we've seen it recently, especially thanks to Andy Warski's streams, that, you know, alt-right is being promoted and Kraut T going crazy, and this also has helped the alt-right's public perception, and that's why I question it. Like, I do think that there are many genuine normal people who support the alt-right. I'm not against the basic idea of the, you know, white nationalism or even a white ethno-state in America or whatever. I certainly support the right of white people to promote their own rational self-interest and all that stuff, but I'm just very skeptical of the alt-right in general, at least when it comes to many of these media personalities in it. Anyway, back to the original topic, which is the new term I am proposing, the critics of Jewish nepotism. Like, I guess it's not very memey, but I'm not a meme master, so I don't care. But I think it's more descriptive of describing the position myself and many others on the internet and off the internet are taking, that they criticize Jewish nepotism, because like something like anti-Zionist is not, I don't think it's good enough, because I don't think that all Jews are Zionists. Like Laura Loomer probably isn't a Zionist, although I don't know, I haven't checked her opinions on like what she says about Israel and stuff. But I think there are many Jews who act in a very, very Jewy manner, but they may not be Zionists. Alternative might be opponents of Jewish nepotism, but so far, critic of Jewish nepotism, COJN, Kojn, or CJN is the best term I've come up with so far. And just to put it in context, like all of these labels you hear nowadays very often, especially in current year in 2015, it was so common for people to throw about these terms such as anti-Semitic, racist, sexist, homophobic, Islamophobic, all this crap. The only thing they're not actual descriptions, generally speaking, of people or their opinions. They are simply ways to emotionally manipulate you, shame you, and label you as evil. That's the purpose they serve. So that's why I think it is good to have some sort of good descriptive term for somebody who is critical of Jewish nepotism, because I think it's a fairly accurate term. It's a fairly neutral term, instead of something like a proponent of gassing the kikes. Like, that's very politically volatile. But yeah, like I said already about anti-Semite, it's inaccurate, and like racist, that term doesn't really mean anything nowadays, because, you know, if Black Lives Matter say that it's okay to kill, you should kill white people, that's no longer racist according to mainstream media at least. But if you say it's okay to be white, then you're racist. Or like if you say all lives matter, you are racist. So the word itself doesn't have any practical purpose. It's only to manipulate you in some manner. And also sexism, it's similar. Sexist, racist, misogynist. There's this great Hillary Clinton song about it. I recommend it. And of course, like homophobic is inaccurate, because yeah, I'm critical of the LGBTQPI agenda very much. I want them to stop pushing that those gay agenda stuff, but homophobic, because it's not an irrational fear of homosexuality. It's more like recognizing it as something harmful to society, and that's why I want to reduce homosexual behavior and promotion of homosexuality. It's very much a misnomer. Once in my life, I suppose I have experienced actual homophobia, and no, I'm not a homosexual, I'm not bisexual, never been anything like that. But like when I was a teenager, I was walking with my friend, and I was singing a song from the Brit pop band Blur, Park Life, and it goes something like they all go hand in hand through their park life. And then my friend was like, we're not walking hand in hand. And I wasn't saying that we were walking hand in hand. I was just singing a song, and he interpreted that I'm making some sort of homosexual suggestion or whatever. Like, that was actually like irrationally being afraid that I'm saying or doing something homosexual. So that was an actual case of homophobia. But generally, when people talk about homosexuality and say it's immoral or a mental illness, I don't think they are acting out of a phobia. I think they're acting out of an actual concern. And then lastly, but not least, is Islamophobia. It's not very irrational to fear Islam or the spread of Islam, since, well, we've all seen the news at least about all of these terrorist attacks in recent years, so it's a very rational concern against Islam, especially when it comes to the West. So that's pretty much all. Yeah, I just want people to make criticism of Jewish nepotism a more mainstream thing, so that we can, because I think a lot of people, well, I know a lot of people, they have been programmed by this idea of some sort of neo-Nazi who is basically some Untermensch thug who just likes to attack Jews because they have nothing better to do, or because they just want to find somebody to hate and whatnot. But that's not it at all. It's because there are very, very good reasons that I've highlighted in some of my previous videos to be critical of the influence that many wealthy Jews and influential Jews have over Western societies. So yeah, I hope Racewarsky does a video on the Jewish question, or a whole fucking series or a stream on it.